Megan Smith is the United States Chief Technology Officer. Okay, let's just acknowledge coolest job title. People must say this every time they introduce you. In the same way that it's cooler to be a prince than a king, I think Chief Technology Officer is pretty much the coolest job I can think of in the United States. I should say that for all introductions, we've given biographies in this, and we're going to try to keep these short. So let me just say that Megan is in the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Before she came to public service, she was a vice president at Google. And before that, as you can read about, she had adventures that are described, including at planetout.com and some cool solar car racing. And I'll let you read about that. So in the spirit of short introductions, thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Faith. Faith. Thank you, Steve. It's so great to be here, and I do think CTO, it's such an honor to have this job. Although I would say there's somebody that really is the technologist in chief, and he'll be here tomorrow. The president is really an incredible leader, and I've come to government only in it's just shy of 2 years. But the things that we just celebrated, Dr. Holdren, the science advisor, who runs the Office of Science Technology Policy. He's the longest science advisor since Vannevar Bush, longest serving since FDR. And so we compiled a list with our colleague Kristen Lee, who's here, of 100 achievements that the president has made just to celebrate. And it's just breathtaking to look at that. I encourage you to look on the web at the range of different things that are there. So thank you, Stanford. We've really opened the doors this whole week. We're doing this event, but it's part of the whole Global Entrepreneurship Summit. And again, the president is really a community organizer in his original first jobs. And it's really about getting talent together in the way that we're doing in the summit, in the way that we do in our country, and a real opportunity to collaborate and see people who have such different takes. Sometimes the president's chief of staff, Dennis McDonough, calls it, we see different parts of the elephant. And so coming together and having the kinds of conversations that we can, whether it's in tonight about machine learning and AI and all of the opportunity and all the things we can do to avoid downside and collaborate on that, or whether it's the breadth of these particular days of the greatest entrepreneurs coming together to share with each other what they feel and are passionately driving to bring us solutions into the world and the network that they have together. We are also in the middle of really working hard on how do we modernize our government itself? And I know that many countries around the world are doing that. We have a thing called the Open Government Partnership, and it's a similar type of collaboration amongst countries. The president started it with about 7 countries together. Now it's 70. We were just in Cape Town for the regional meeting of Africa and the steering committee, and it's great to see this healthy, collaborative, engaged set of people working on government transparency, but also civic technology. One of the things that's really important here, we talked about data. The president's opened 180,000 data sets since coming into office, and so they live on data.gov, and people are starting to do extraordinary things. Of course, for a very long time, we've had weather and people building on top of that. We've seen mapping and those tools, but now we're starting to see things from census, like engagement with the developer community on opportunity.census.gov. Which is now building applications on top of Census, the biggest big data thing in our country. And they're starting to move into a position where the developers and the technologists we can have APIs in addition to RFPs coming out of government. That's our goal. We also, some of my colleagues are here. I know Lucy Brady is here somewhere from the United States Digital Service. And so this idea of the techies having a chair, and the president has added that to make sure that the greatest technologists who have built Amazon and Facebook and Twitter, our Research Academy teammates, can come serve the government in a tour of duty, just like our Surgeon General can come in, or the AAAS fellows or lawyers who rotate in. We're rotating technical people. That's very important for this particular conversation on AI machine learning, or whether it's about Bitcoin, or whether it's about the new UAS rules that have come out of the Department of Transportation this week around the regulation, the policy that should be here. We want the technical inventors of those technologies to be, in addition to consultation like we're doing tonight, to be able to be in the government together. So we have all of that American team together. And for our international colleagues who are here tonight, that seems to be happening all over the world. We're seeing whether it's the UK government digital service, like our United States digital service, the French team, the Kenyan team, Singapore, Brazil, China, and Chile, and others are all bringing technical people. We call it TQ, like IQ and EQ added to the table when we're doing policy making at government and when we're modernizing our systems so we can better serve citizens. And as the president said at South by Southwest, not only do we want to modernize government and increase civic participation, but we have very hard challenges. So how can we solve problems in much more collaborative ways using all these new amazing methods, the sharing economy methods, open source methods? You know, we can make Wikipedia. Why don't we take that kind of technique and share with each other what we could do to improve economies and the social justice and social opportunity for everyone? So I wanted to turn attention specifically to the work on artificial intelligence, machine learning. President really was encouraging us. There's a whole range of opinions about what's going to happen. It's an exciting time. Some people are quite fearful. Some people are quite excited. And that range is a good range, and it's time for a deep conversation. And that's going to be ongoing, and it's got to be broader. And so what we're doing is a series of events and conversations, and this is one of them. The first one was at the University of Washington, which really focused on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and law and policy. A series of experts from our country talking and having conversation and a dialogue there. Recently, we had one with the in Washington on AI for good. So how do we apply machine learning, and even earlier, like just data science and healthy data work, but this work into all of the problems? I was just with David Newman is here for the event. She's the deputy administrator of NASA. You know, so the NASA team has been using machine learning and AI, this techniques. We're going to Pluto, we're using this. But let's make sure in government, our colleagues at the Department of Labor or the HUD team, we've released data there. Can we lift the capacity for them to serve the American people and to deliver their quality products using artificial intelligence? So it was a conversation about AI for alleviating poverty, AI for helping with climate change, AI applications that we might use. And we heard from incredible experts doing work on wildlife conservation, doing work at Walter Reed with medical decisions, really saving lives and helping improve healthcare, criminal justice opportunities, and similar things with transportation, you know, and all the, of course, autonomous vehicles, but also routing and saving people's time. So an amazing set of things. So that came out of the AI for Good conversation, and we'll continue here. Here at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit and at Stanford, you know, really a focus on entrepreneurship, on our greatest academics talking to us about what they see in the field, and we're going to hear about that. And then next week, we're going to be at Carnegie Mellon, and there's a conversation there about safety and control, and the conversations we need to begin to have as we develop and understand that. And then the last one is in New York City, and the Council of Economic Advisors team will be joining in that. Jason Furman, who leads that team, talking about sort of economics and social implications, and very much focused on the near term. You know, just like the jobs revolution of the industrial and the industrial age, and the transition we go through sort of every decade. You know, so many of the jobs in the United States today are new, you know, from companies, many founded here at Stanford, who have created this future. We were just over with an amazing team called Shinola here, you know, the rebirth of Detroit. So the rebirth of our jobs, and this will have great implications there. And we need to have those conversations and be thinking about that. So that'll be a focus in New York. There'll be a public report that comes out of this, very similar to the work that John Podesta led around big data. And so continuing that conversation. And also we're going to be posting, I think on Monday, beginning our request for information so that we're online with anybody who would like to comment and engage in the dialogue. All of the conversations we're having are live streamed, and the videos of the ones in the past are posted, so if anyone wants to participate in those. I think that maybe the last thing I'd note is really a really important thing that the president cares a lot about, which is how are we going to make sure that we're bringing everyone into this conversation, and that those who will design and make and participate in AI and this incredible opportunity that we have will come from all parts of the world, will be men and women, will be people of all races, and really represents humanity's greatest talent applied. So the diversity and inclusion here is a profound challenge, because up to this point, many of the AI research teams have represented partial groups of the planet. We want to field the whole team. And so we've got really fundamental work that we need to recognize as we come into this conversation of how are we going to engage. The president has launched Computer Science for All. 9 out of 10 parents in the United States would like coding taught at school. And so we're working hard to help make sure all our children are having the opportunity to participate in algorithms, data science, and we would love to have them in on this conversation. And by teaching in class, whether it's in the English class or whether it's in a math class and computational thinking, we'll be able to engage them into this conversation and the challenges that their world will become a part of as we do so many different things. So the thing I might mention is that yesterday we announced a tech inclusion pledge along these lines. So over 30 companies, many of them here in Silicon Valley, from Intel, Airbnb, Zynga, and others, have signed up to really push hard on diversifying their workforce. And this is a workforce that is deeply involved in AI and machine learning. And so it's an exciting pledge. The teams are pledging to publish numbers and details about where the technical people really are in those teams. And they're going to be setting goals and then also collaborating together to try to really advance our knowledge. Much of our diversity challenges today live in unconscious bias and institutional bias. I just mentioned David Newman. An example there would be maybe even the basics of the NASA team. We stopped making small spacesuits. So the people who are small have a hard time, right? So why are we disincluding small people, right? So we're working on that. And one of my colleagues, Katie Coleman, who's an astronaut, has been to space 3 times, 2 times on the shuttle and once for 6 months on the station. She's one of the very smallest astronauts. And she said that, when she's in those suits underwater doing training, there's just twice as much air. It's much harder for her to physically do what she's doing. And so what are we doing in our institutional design that's systematically making it harder for people to play? Is it through the fact that our media shows 15-to-1 computer science boys versus girls in children's TV? And so when we watch TV, we see things that make us think the world is a way that it doesn't have to be. So, I'll leave you with 2 of those images, and what can we do to include people? And maybe AI machine learning can help us with the data science of seeing what we're doing. And so maybe one of the applications we should get up to is how to diversify the AI machine learning teams using AI machine learning. So I'm really excited to hear from the people that the Stanford team has pulled together with us. And it's an honor to be here with all of them and their just incredible passion, for the joy and discovery and what they've been up to and what they can bring and talk to us and how we can engage so many more people. And it's an honor to be here with our guests from around the world. Again, thank you for being here at the summit and for your entrepreneurial leadership. And I really appreciate your joining into this conversation. Thank you.
We do have, miraculously, some time for 1 or 2 questions. This is a surprise feature of the program. And I'll let you choose.
Yeah, so 2 people here. Yeah, there, and how about there and then there?
We'll have a microphone running over to
So
you.
1, 2. Hello.
How are you?
Good.
I really appreciate encouraging diversity And there's another piece of diversity that needs to be included, or I would appreciate you considering, and that's the implications of social. How AI, how automation, how process, how script is going to work with people, not just amongst machine to machine. And
Right.
that's something that anthropologists, sociologists, others can help you with.
Right. I think that sounds fabulous. And you made me think of this idea, which was, definitely social is part of the, like the New York conversation and some of that, the job side and that. But I think there's such opportunity here. And how creative can we be about engaging people? A friend of mine started something called the Ocean Elders. And you think about all the sustainable development goals. These goals that we have that are so important, and the UN teams and the social teams and civic engagement teams work so hard to put those together across 2 years. For those who don't know, this is like the Millennium Development Goals of the first 15 years. This is the next 15 years. They were just ratified a year ago, September. And so I was imagining, sort of this engagement on social and getting young people involved. They're thinking about launching the youngers with the elders, not necessarily age thing, but those who have great expertise and those who are working on it. And I always thought we should have the youngest, which is the maybe 3 to 7-year-olds who get involved. And you could imagine them helping us as much as our most extreme experts, envisioning what would it be in a world, and sort of thinking about David Newman, who has a lot of science fiction imagery and posters around with NASA so they can imagine into the future. So how can we do two things? One is the very scientific part of this and sort of behavior science and how humans are. And then also the very imaginative, creative part. It would be really interesting to get up to both of those. I really appreciate. And people who have ideas, we'd love to hear how you would envision doing that in the different ways that capture maybe those three sectors, those who really know a lot and can lead, those who are very excited to work on that and have work in progress in our beginning, and maybe even the youngest of us who have the most creative, wild ideas of what it might be.
I think just what I would leave you with, and those are all fantastic comments, is that as you consider AI and the technical possibilities, ultimately they are going to impact people.
Yes.
And that really needs to be on board as you plan projects and make stuff.
Yeah, I think it's critically important. I also feel like there's an opportunity even very near term that's not just pure AI, it's more systems, which is in the smart cities work, to be very mindful of not only the kind of like the mechanical part of the city, the physically getting around, but the citizens. And so we've been working a lot with police force on the police data initiative, other things around justice. The CTO of Seattle has been working with librarians, and they've been doing extraordinary hackathons, Hack the Commute, work on our neighborhood, and really engaging anyone in the neighborhood with open data and really making it a community conversation. So I think anything we can do along those lines is critically important, and kind of all voices in, and structuring using clever ways, and those who have ideas there can bring a lot. Thank you.
Thanks.
We had one more question. Yeah, are we okay on time? We're out of time. Okay. Sorry.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.